Midway. Kelly Potter is unable to be here tonight. Asked me to convey to you that we share the opinion. 3 new mayors were elected, Charleston, Heber, and Midway. We will all be serving on this board. These are critical decisions, and we would respectfully request that you don't make a decision on this tonight. We need some time to review this. I've been studying up on this pretty intensely for about 6 weeks. I've got a lot more work to do, as do the other 2 new incoming mayors. We're looking at a very concerned citizenry. You've got over 40 people out here that can't hear or see the slides. It seems appropriate to me to table this issue, bring it back in a larger venue where discussion can truly be public, and hopefully have given us a little bit of time to take a look at what needs to happen and how we want to move forward. The suggestion of waiting for some studies is an excellent one. And I was unable to talk to Brenda from Charleston about this, but for Kelly and myself, we would greatly appreciate a little bit of a pause on this. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Next.
I'm Heber Johnson, representing Bear Mountain Properties, LLC, which is the owner of the property that the proposed substation will be sitting on. We still own it. Rocky Mountain does not. That property, if it can't be mitigated because it impacts literally millions of dollars of land in the west end, just west of the Midway boundary. All along that mountain, there's developmental property that's impacted by this substation for a variety of reasons. Now, that we were contacted, about 4 weeks ago was the first I heard about it, but we met this morning with Rocky Mtn Power to talk about mitigating features for that. So that discussion hasn't even reached anything more than the initial phase. To me, it seems inappropriate to give a conditional use permit on a section of property that hasn't even been properly mitigated.
Can I ask a question? Are you talking about the substation in Midway near the cemetery?
Yeah, it's actually in the county, not in Midway.
Understood.
Yeah,
Understood.
but that's the substation. Now, there are 4 different properties that in the past, they came to our father and said, hey, we're going to condemn your property and take it. This is what we'll give you if you give it to us right now. And when they took the parcel on the hill, that is where the current substation is, they threatened condemnation, threatened my dad, and talked to him in person and said, if you fight us, it will cost you in legal fees every bit of your farm. You will lose everything you have if you fight for that spot. It was a difficult thing for my dad, but he went ahead. He was afraid of Rocky Mountain and went ahead with it, and that was where they had planned their retirement home. At the time that occurred, and our mother realized what had happened, she gave up on life. And most of you know Fawn Kohler. And she literally gave up on living because they would never have a nice home, they'd never be able to have anything, and if they fought it, they'd lose everything they had anyway. So they were in a no-win situation. In our discussion with Rocky Mountain, we said we either have a win-win situation, we must have a win-win out of this. But there's also an adjoining home that this goes all the way around with expansion of the substation and additionally picking up easements for that power line. That power line does not have complete easements for all that property. It's going to cross new property and affect more land and more value on that west side. So all of those things need to be mitigated, and I believe they should be mitigated prior to obtaining a conditional use permit. That gives Rocky Mountain the enthusiasm, if you will, to help negotiate and mitigate the situation. Thank you.
Tracy Taylor, Heber City. The quick question I just wanted to ask, prior to this was, is there a Rocky Mountain Power representative here tonight? That's all I wanted to ask earlier. So there is a Rocky Mountain Power representative here tonight? Great, because some of my questions have to do with that. You know, we heard Jason Norland talk about what Heber Light Power needs, but we have yet to hear why Rocky Mountain Power needs this as well. And there's been some rumors, there's actually been some newspaper articles in the Park Record in Park City. I personally have been aware of this issue as a real estate broker in the area for 20 years about the substation in Park City. And they wanted to move it 3-4 years ago, and where they wanted to move it to, the people fought it. And now we're having this upgrade of Rocky Mountain Power, and in that Park Record article, it stated there's another alternative for Park City. It is heading over to Wasatch County. So I think it's only fair that we hear from Rocky Mountain Power tonight and go, exactly how much of this is Park City growth, not just Heber Valley growth. This is Park City growth we're paying for here too, in our views. And I think that taking a breath, postponing this decision tonight, doing some research, also means saying, look, Park City, maybe we will accommodate you, but it's going to cost you. You're going to have to help us bury the lines. It's only fair that Park City comes in on this and says, you are saving us from a substation in the middle of town. In the middle of their town. Why can't we get Park City to the table, Summit County to the table, to help us bury our lines? So that's an option there too, that maybe hasn't been thought about. But this is directly, Rocky Mountain Power needs these lines for Park City, is what I've read in newspapers. So not everything is. The other thing I want to mention that nobody's mentioned yet, really, is as a real estate broker in this town, this is affecting people's property values tremendously. And I totally agree with the easement thoughts earlier about these people that gave easements in the 70s, had no idea this is what was going to happen. That's their property too that this is going next to, that they, you know, did the valley a favor 50 years ago, and now they're having to deal with property issues as well. And I really do not feel, I sit in a lot of these meetings, as you know, I did not hear any public hearings, any town hall meetings, anything going on to even alert the public. And I'm sorry, you know, this is the 21st century. A sign on the side of a highway when you're going 55 miles an hour is not proper notice anymore. There's 10,000 people on the Facebook page of Ask Heber. 10,000 people on Facebook, Ask Heber. That's where the people are. Putting a sign on the side of the highway, I know it's state code to do it that way. I know it's state code to put it in the local paper, but you are not hitting the majority of the citizens by doing it that way anymore. And that may be something as a county, as Heber City, all these different public entities in town, we need to start going where the people are and not expect them to pull over on the side of a road for a little sign that isn't proper notice in my book. Thank you.
Thank you, Ricky.
Good evening. My name is Gunther Branham. I live in Midway. Yes, thank you. And first of all, I'd like to thank you folks for your public service. I'd like to thank the Heber Light Power people for being here and the Rocky Mtn Power people for being here. And I know everyone wants to do what's best for their organization. I know we need reliable power. But I think the purpose of this process is for us to discuss this and look at alternatives that make sense for the majority of the citizens and for the current and future needs of Wasatch County. And the point I wanted to bring up very quickly was very similar to what was just brought up. Heber Light Power talked about the lines going in and needing like 48K or 41 kV of capacity on those lines. If that were the case, these lines would look exactly like the lines that are already approved on the other side of the valley. And pardon me, I didn't get a chance, I was outside, I couldn't see all the pictures, and I don't know all the lingo, but there was an upgrade, and that went to 48 kV. The gentleman over here asked several questions about why all these poles are so high. It's been very difficult for us to get information about this project, but I would propose before you, and I invite Heber Light Power and Rocky Mtn Power to come and talk to this, but the purpose that those poles are so big and so tall is because Rocky Mountain is running capacity on those lines that does not serve the needs of our valley. They go out, they're running through our valley, using it like a freeway to go down to Preble Canyon and serve Utah Valley, perhaps up to Park City, I don't know. But my question is, what's the real load, total load on those lines? And that is what's driving those big power lines. So I respectfully ask that question. Thank you.
Thank you.